You're listening to Over the Bull, where we cut through marketing noise. Here's your host, Ken Carroll.
Can you see the chickens coming home to roost on this episode of Over the Bull? Guys, it's happening. And I'm excited about it. I'm going to be honest with you because I have seen probably for the last 10 to 20 years, businesses that made half-hearted attempts or were kind of in marketing and design build these websites, build these templates and all these things, and frankly make a lot of money at the expense of the businesses they're building these products for. I mean, this has spawned to entire markets where they're do-it-yourself website builders and design templates and all these things that make people think that marketing and design is just this little a la carte system that you can throw together. And it also allowed for freelancers and these agencies to kind of build the smoke and mirrors that go around it. And it's been very profitable. But those days are changing and changing fast. So let me explain something to you real quick. I've been in this for a long time. And, you know, I remember when I first started Integris Design, one of the big things we needed to do was prove our credibility. And we put an emphasis on certifications and everything ever since, because we want people to know that we're going to do our best to understand everything going on to help their business. We just feel that's needed, but it was also required back at a certain time. Now, as the market got more saturated and more freelancers came into the field, that tone changed with people that we were consulting with. It went from, are you the most credible, to, are you even going to do the work? Meaning that there were a lot of agencies and freelancers at the time that would take deposits and frankly never do the job. And so that made it, you know, a whole other game where, you know, we wanted to show customers we work with and we want to show different things to prove that we would actually do the work. So these trends would change based upon what was going on in the market. Now, you probably have seen similar things in your market. And so what we've done was try to build a safe haven for these businesses. And it's come to, I mean, this has been for years, well, they'll come in and they'll believe that the internet doesn't work for them or somehow their business is unique and, you know, that somehow it's just not in the cards for their business. Now, of course, this is not true either. I mean, you know, of course, everybody wants to run Google ads, but they think as soon as they run ads, the phone's just going to magically start ringing. And if they build a website, people are going to magically start finding it. Now, this is not the fault of you, the owner of a business. This is sales tactics where through omission, they're not telling you the truth. The reality is the conversion rates on Google ads out the gate are really low. Search engine optimization takes a long time. And gaining momentum online in general requires an effort, a lot of massaging and changing, and a lot of agility, meaning you can't get rigid with your web design. You got to be able to adjust it according to what's going on. And there are just tons and tons of things that need to happen, and it's a constant effort. It's never done. Now, of course, what this does is if you find someone who's good at what they do, the vultures will come at you anyway, and they're going to point out something that's not done the way it should be done, and they're probably right. But you know what? It's always a work in progress, but they look for the hole to try to sucker you back in to a system that's going to be ineffective. Now, your challenge is sometimes those freelancers and agencies are not doing their job. And so trying to navigate those waters can be really challenging for the owner of a business in the world of tech. So I understand this is where you're at. Now, here's the really exciting thing for me right now. When I said the chickens are coming home to roost, I mean it, because just like I was telling you about those trends, now we have some new trends going on, new things we're reacting to, and it fits right into what we do. And the thing that's in vogue right now is honesty and the cold, hard truth, which we've done this since, we started the business where we just try to sell the cold, hard reality of what you can expect from Google Ads, what you can expect from SEO, what you can expect from web development. And, we have all these analogies where we say, well, a website's kind of like a boat with no sail, and the sail is your marketing effort. So you toss a boat in the middle of the ocean. That's kind of what you got with a website initially, until you start building it up and building it out. And so we have these analogies that we use to kind of help bridge the gap, to put things in proper perspective. And this is really important because businesses are all the time lied to through omission. And then you kind of have to diffuse what to expect from the internet to the business owner, and then, show them that it's real work. It's not going to Canva and choosing a bunch of templates, and it's not going to WordPress and buying templates, or going to a do-it-yourself website builder and doing those. That's not how it works. Those are just attractive means, but without the guidance of a professional, then everything becomes disjointed. It's kind of like when you were, I know when I was a kid, they had these little balls, and they would have different shapes. And, you have a circle and you have a square shape, and, wouldn't go in there. Well, it's kind of like that. But I'm excited about this because business owners are waking up. They're realizing it. And I don't know if it's because of the culmination of AI revealing more of it. But, when I was telling you that the idea of running Google Ads to these splash landing pages that have low rank and low authority and not your main page, that these days are coming to an end. These days are coming to an end. And also, what's interesting is the last several clients we've been speaking with, they're waking up in unique ways. So, for example, one of our latest people we've consulted with, they came in, and here was the thing. When they called, what they alluded to was they're paying money to an agency. We're going to call them an agency. I think it's just a one-person freelancer, but they have a brand name, so we'll call them that. And what they did was they called us up and said, we just think she's taking our money, and we don't think she's really doing any work, but we don't know, but we just know we need to get some stuff moving in the right direction. And, and I've heard this for several times where I'm like, they're waking up, like they're not buying the narrative. They're no longer buying the big words, where people be like, oh, you need to do, and they use the lofty technical terms we all use. And then the business owner is just like, well, that sounds really good. I need to get that thing done. And, like, for example, right now, everybody's talking about how they got the latest and greatest AI system that's going to just change your world forever, and everything's going to be great. AI is incredible. There are things you can do with AI that will absolutely help your business, but there are things you can do with AI that will absolutely destroy your business. And you got to know which path to take as you navigate through. And guess what? As we're walking through the woods, that path is being carved as we move now. It's not a stable path of years and years, which is what we've seen prior to. Okay, so when they came in, they weren't sure. And so my first question was, well, what's going on? And they said, well, we're paying a person. We have a website, and they have this SEO that they're working on for us. And they said that consumes all of our budget. And I said, well, what's the definition of SEO? Have they explained that term to you? And they said, well, it has something to do with keywords. But she's saying that takes a lot. And I said, well, how much are you spending? And they go, well, $1,000 to $1,200 a month. And I'm like, okay. And she said she's working on keywords and SEO, right? Yes. I said, okay. So then I started to break down SEO, because SEO is one of those terms that that some people will use almost as like this catch-all phrase, this nebulous phrase to make you think that somehow they're doing a lot of magic to get you on the top of the internet. Now, keep in mind, when we talk about magic, there's a bad thing about a magician. It's incredible. They promise you they can make things disappear and reappear, but you know what? It's all an illusion. Well, some people use the term like SEO like an illusion. They want to sell you a principle or a concept, and they want to get it in your mind that this new magic thing is going to somehow just transform your business that they do behind the scenes. Now, they've been paying for this for over a year. Okay, so over a year, this thing called SEO that this other agency was doing, is out there. So we have to figure out, did they actually do anything? So I started pulling up a bunch of tools that we pay for, and in real time, I'm just showing them what I see behind the scenes to find out if anything SEO has been done, either SEO meaning their local Google business profile, which some people will use interchangeably with website optimization or working on the site. And so I wanted to look at it from both lenses because legitimately those terms are used. Like they'll even say local SEO and they'll refer to your Google business. And, there's a lot of different ways to kind of slice this SEO pie, which makes it a very kind of basic weapon that can be used in when you see these kind of things happen. So I ran through all the tools, and lo and behold, very little's done. Very little. Just like the previous one, the previous digital agency from the former client 2 episodes ago, where not only did they do very little, but they actually caused a lot of destruction for that client. They actually sent them backwards, where we're almost having to rebuild from scratch due to how bad they actually destroyed their marketing program. Well, in this case, it never got off the ground to begin with. There was no signs of any kind of serious SEO, certainly not 12 to 14 months of it. Now, I did not see a lot of evidence of artificial intelligence being abused on this particular project, but basically they were forking out $1,200 a month for nothing, and they knew it. But they didn't know how to say it. And because they're a small business, they were afraid that if they cut that off, then they're going to cut off all this work that maybe is getting ready to crescendo into this big wave of business, which it's not. It's not. Now, another thing that was interesting about this was their complaint was that when they called their freelancer, who may be an agency or may be solo. I don't know, and I really don't care, to be honest with you. But they would also complain that she always seems to be on vacation. And so what I loved about this is a blue-collar business in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina, that realized they're being sold a bill of goods and they're ready to move on. Okay, I have seen businesses that have drugged these relationships out forever, and they didn't realize this. Now, I've had many in the last 2 to 3 months that are waking up, and I am so excited to see it, because when you're trying to do a good job and you realize how hard it is to start and run a business, it's painful when you see these people putting everything they have into it and putting a serious effort into their marketing and everything, and then having to come back and then see that they've got nothing for it, that they've gone backwards, or their business has been destroyed, and now they're waking up to it. And I cannot tell you how exciting it is to see when someone starts to go, well, what is SEO? And can you tell me if anything was done or not? And then you see them start to move in another direction. Now, I'll tell you where I get excited even more so than that is we've always been on this road where we sell like the cold, hard truth. When someone comes and sits at our in our office, well, we look at their entire marketing plan, we lay everything out, we say, well, we think this is where you're at. And then we say, okay, now here's the reality. This is what you really need to spend, and this is what you're really looking at, and this is the road you're going to have to go down in order to be successful on the internet. And it's not lofty. It's grounded. It's like the brutal truth just kind of hitting you between the eyes. And you know what? Business owners can accept that. Guys like you can get that if you're just told the truth, because then you know what to deal with. And I love it because now we're, it's like the truth has finally come out. The agencies and the freelancers that have lived off all these nebulous terms and telling you they're going to do this or do that, it's coming to an end. Okay, now I'm seeing big media companies also where there's a lot of ignorance with big media companies, where you can ask some basic 101 questions, and as our company, for example, when we were to talk to them, we can see just based upon their answers that they really don't know what they're doing. You see, because in their case, they've made a lot of money because what happened was that, people have trusted television and things like that forever. And so what they do is, because television is now essentially becoming like legacy media, like they're even calling like things like Google and Bing legacy services. Now, Google's not going anywhere. Don't get me wrong. They're going to fight till the end. But the idea is that what these larger media companies have done was they've taken when they were dominant and their television stations were watched by everybody locally or regionally or whatever. And then what they've done was they knew the writing was on the wall. So then what they did was they said, well, we better get into digital marketing. So now they go out and they build these agreements with these third-party groups. Third party just means a vendor. And so then they go get this vendor and then they start selling their services. But what they do is they use the reputation that they had and try to use that to springboard their services to make you think that they're better than they are, and they don't properly run them. Okay, now this is an absolute fact too. So if that's not enough, I'm not going to tell you the name of this company, but it's a well-known place where people typically go to buy or look for things like restaurants and things like that. And one of the things that they've done was years ago, they approached us and we ran tests and they failed miserably, and it was kind of embarrassing. But they approached me again, and they were using the same thing where they're trying to lean on certain statistics to make you think that they're bigger and badder than they are. Now, what's great about them is they're dead in the water in the Southeast. This particular website is bigger, I think, maybe in the Northeast and maybe in the Northwest. But in the Southeast U.S., they're just frankly not used as much unless people are looking for, basically a restaurant. But there's that little game too. So let's talk about what's going on here. So a couple things I was just pulling up and I was just trying to go, okay, what's going on here? And what are some of the common tactics that are being revealed as things that can blow up your company, or maybe flags that you can see as maybe you're starting to wonder, is my guy doing his job, or my gal doing her job, or, how can we know exactly what's going on? Well, there's a lot, but sometimes you need an expert to kind of assess what's going on. And so the problem is that even the assessment, remember I told you early on that a lot of times what you'll see is some people will look for holes in the game and then really emphasize it to get your business pulled away from someone else. But there are legitimately things that you can look for. Now, for me, one of the big things is there a cohesive product? Do I see progress? Do I see that they're using standard templates? Do I see that they have lined things up incorrectly? I kind of look at the holistic picture, but then I do get granular in our meetings too. Some people pick on the grains of sand and then make a mountain out of the proverbial molehill. But one thing that they'll do is there's still stuff where they're keyword stuffing. using like low quality backlinks, which by the way is not good and it's getting worse. And then they'll do a relevant ghost post or a guest post, stuff like that, which basically, I know it all sounds super nerdy, but basically in the end, just remember that part of building your credibility up for your business is building your reputation up. And just as though if you were to run for political office and you get an endorsement from someone who's prominent in your area versus someone who is not prominent in your area, or maybe even someone who's a little sketchy, you can imagine one of those is going to carry more weight than the other. Well, your website's the same thing. It's much easier to get low quality votes or backlinks to your website than it is to get good ones. I mean, real SEO is very monotonous. It's fruitless sometimes. There's all kinds of problems that go into it when you try to do it right, which is why so many people try to game the system with things like private blog networks. If you go to integrusdesign.com and locate our press release section, which we're in the middle of doing a major rebuild, so I apologize for any navigation issues you may run into. But our first one was talking about private blog networks and how SEO companies are using it to kind of try to game the system and how dangerous these things are. But guys like me can normally pick up on stuff like that and kind of help you navigate. The big one I saw this week, which I just loved, I'm going to be honest with you, agencies and freelancers offering vague service. Like, you should never buy a service that says will do SEO or will handle social. With no metrics, no data, no demonstrable value. And the other thing you want to add to that is if anyone, large media buys, local agencies, Google Ads companies, if they're focusing on impressions, clicks, and views as the holy grail of data, you're buying a bill of goods. My opinion is that you need to run from those companies. I don't care how big or how small they are. You want to make sure that you are tracking what is meaningful to your organization, period. So, a click, yeah, that's a sign. Okay, yeah, that's a sign of how much traffic's coming to your site, but that doesn't put food on the proverbial table. You want to know how many people made phone calls, how many people filled out forms, why did people leave? Is there a way to capture the large amount of people that are leaving the website and not ever engaging because maybe they're price shopping? Is there a way to use artificial intelligence in a way that speaks to the people that are coming to your site and not making them think that you're just another AI answering service? There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And this is what people are waking up to. Big promises. Oh my gosh. There was also this weird thing that happened yesterday where their agency was telling them that if they get a certain certification or whatever, that they would pop up on the top of Google or something. And anyway, it was a silly thing that they had come up with. But the point is big promises. Okay, when someone promises you or makes you feel as though the journey is going to be easy, a lot of times these are sales pitches, period. They're just simple sales pitches. I mean, when I got through talking with the group yesterday, this new business, I think they're a good candidate to work with us. But the one thing that I made clear when I talked to them was that I'm not a magician. I'm not going to turn this thing on and it's not just going to start working and generating you revenue overnight. That's not how it works. In the world of the internet today, it's hard. It requires adjustments. You've got to understand your customer. You've got to take the technology and give technology time to, for lack of a better word, learn what needs to happen in order to make those different parts all work together. And you got to adjustment. Just like a stock car in racing, they're constantly adjusting that car throughout the race. Well, it's the exact same thing with the internet. Now, once you get things moving in the right direction, then it starts to begin to take a snowball effect. But if you get the big promises of, hey, we're super big, we're going to run you on social and get this and get that, stay away from them. Other thing are no clear KPIs. Those are key performance indicators for basically what's important. That goes back to the previous statement. You want to be able to gauge what your goals are. If you can't clarify what you're trying to achieve and we're not trying to shoot for what you're trying to achieve, that's like going on vacation and, thinking, you're not knowing if you're going to the beach or going on a ski trip in the mountains. What you pack with you and what you do to get to both those locations is significantly different. You don't take snow chains if you're going to the beach. And so sometimes people have websites and stuff built without even knowing what they're trying to achieve to begin with. Think these do-it-yourself website builders where you pick that darn template and you put in your stuff. Think about that. That's why those things don't work, but that's why they make a lot of money, because they sell illusions. Okay, so what it causes, it's causing a lot of harm. Cause you to waste your budget, cause you to fail driving real traffic that your competitors are getting. No idea what's going on, no education. You're just spending money and spinning your wheels. And a lot of times you'll wonder if the internet even works. And here's the bad part. Some people, a lot of people, are using what's known as black hat techniques. Remember those PBMs I was telling you, or PBNs, private blog networks. Some strategies can actually get you penalized, and in some cases, possibly even completely blacklisted from Google and other search engines. I mean, you're messing with their product is when you try to game the system. And that's what everybody tries to do. Not everyone, but all the unethical ones, where they try to, do things like put all the cities at the bottom of the page or, just weird stuff where it's not really good for the user. They're just trying to manipulate search engines by putting things in certain places. Well, they're getting much, much smarter, and they're really starting to separate the wheat from the chaff. So be careful. I've talked to you a little bit about the client that we're bringing on. We're sending them a proposal, a legitimate one. We're going to be doing videography, photography. We're going to have to reconstruct the website. Now, a word on reconstructing the website. Let me get this out real quick. So one of the common things is when you see something's broken and you go to another company to look for help, there's actually two places that they could take it. One is, we got to build your website. Now, they want to rebuild your website sometimes simply for making money off rebuilding the website. For example, in this case, this client had a very modest website, and this person was telling them like $5,000 to rebuild that website. And I mean, literally, we're talking templates and just throwing in stuff. And so you got to be careful, because sometimes you may not need to rebuild your website, or sometimes you do need to rebuild your website. But what's good for the freelancer or the agency is to just rebuild your website no matter what. And so you need to get clear justifications on why that website needs to be rebuilt or reconditioned. Let's look here. If I look on, I'm looking through my notes here. The other, so here was a thing. I'm talking about vague reports. They didn't know to ask for event tracking. They didn't get any kind of education as far as like what's going on with the traffic and how they can possibly improve that. And so the thing is that if an agency cares about your business, they're also going to sit down with you periodically and go, okay, we think this is what's happening. And then you make adjustments, and then you have the painful process of waiting to see what happens, and then you make more adjustments. What shocked me about this customer was in their field, they never saw a keyword report. Now, this person was not running Google Ads for them, which is fine. That's not what they were paying for, although I would have different arguments. But the idea is you run a keyword report, and that can enlighten you as to what kind of pages to have on the website, how to frame what is in the URL or the web address. They never had that done. just a website kind of thrown together half-heartedly. But this company did claim to do SEO, and they didn't go back and adjust those things. Just the way it is. Let's see here. Let's talk about why this is happening. I got a couple other notes here. The algorithms definitely are changing, and the tools are changing. I mean, I just got through talking to you about Atlas, which is a new browser put out by OpenAPI, the folks that are behind ChatGPT. And it's pretty nice. I mean, there is a war between these companies trying to capture business and be the cutting edge company. And we have people that are moving strictly to chat. Now, as the search engines are becoming more sophisticated, the user expectations are higher, which means old tactics simply don't work and will now hurt you. It's pretty much that easy. And so the problem is, I mean, there are outdated tactics that are from February of 2025. I'm sitting here in November of 2025. And as I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm like, there are tactics you can't even do then. Now they won't hurt you as bad because everything's changing, but it can definitely hurt your positioning. I saw a report someone shared with me, and they sent it over to me, and I'm like, my goodness, this is all outdated. And one thing they caveated their webinar, which is basically a sales pitch, was that this stuff will be probably outdated in 2026. I told the person that I'm on the board with, I'm like, this was outdated in 2025. It's already outdated. They can't keep their language up quick enough. And again, all they're trying to do is just put out feelers, find out who's going to kind of buy the bait, and then convert them into customers. That's really what they're after. Data and tracking accountability is another one. Businesses now expect measurable return on investment. Being able to show it is increasingly untenable. So return on investment means is how many meaningful actions did you get? Not how many clicks did you get? How many impressions? How many views did you get? Well, views showing, now there is a place for those. Those are called awareness KPIs. Okay. So awareness means you're building visibility and branding for your business, but that's not where it stops. Okay. It's got to have the complete picture in place. And, what's great is people are waking up to it. I need to know this. I want to see this. I want to learn. Tell me what we picked up in the last month. These things are happening. And the other thing is saturation and competition. Man, if you're in a blue collar business, you better buckle up, because white collar businesses are being gobbled up by artificial intelligence. And these people are going to need something to do. And so part of what they could do is come down and start taking on blue collar jobs, which means more saturations for your electricians and plumbers and roofers and, people like that. And if you have those kind of businesses, you better be ready, because you're about to get hit in 2026 and 2027 if a lot of the data and what the experts are coming out with what's going to start to happen. So this means now just doing, or I don't even like the word, doing social media or doing SEO or having a website and not having a holistic game plan that is constantly being worked on and measured and progressed along with your patients, you're going to fall further and further behind. And as these companies come down, they're going to bring different levels of wisdom. Now, the idea is not to be perfect. The idea is to be the best compared to your competitors, right? So that's always the measurement. Well, if you're doing everything super bad and you've been around for 20 years, they come in and get a year or two under their belt and they do just a little bit better than you do with their marketing, they're going to put a dent in your business. So word to the wise, if you're in a blue collar field, you really need to start thinking about getting even more serious about your digital marketing. And do not, listen to me really carefully here. If you're in those fields, do not go to a company that only builds plumbing websites or electrician websites or any of that stuff. That's not needed. Okay. You need to find someone who's going to fight for you locally and understand you locally. And then plus you can get a non-disclosure, non-compete where they're not going to take your data and share it with your competitors who they're probably also serving in your area. So word to the wise, be careful on that, because there's a lot of people who say, well, we're the roofing website experts and you need to come to us because we know what we're doing. No, that's a sales pitch. Impact on local and smaller players. Let me read my note here real quick. Yeah, this goes back to not being able to, working with these media buy companies and seeing that they're just running these ads for clicks and views and piggybacking on their old reputation and just trying to establish that credibility. They're making a lot of money off some people. And the idea is that they should have been let go really early on, knowing that they have run ads and did not raise flags about not tracking important goals or conversions. So conversions, when you hear that word conversions, by the way, just think meaningful actions. Someone picking up the phone, giving you a call, someone filling out a form, somebody requesting something, someone signing up for an email. They didn't do none of that stuff. So let's look at some questions. What you could do is you could ask, what specific deliverables do you provide for the fee they're giving you? You also want to find out how they're going to learn, how they're going to progress things through. And if they say, well, first we're going to build you a website and then run ads to it or something, or we're going to build you a brand new web page where we can track all the paid ad traffic specifically to. Be careful. I mean, there's a lot that they can reveal by just telling you how they're going to kind of set things and forget it. And if they don't give you the plan where they're going to walk with you every step of the journey, to me, that's a big flag. What KPIs will you track and report? This is those conversions. Have they been doing it? Can they give you a KPI report? Are they padding the numbers where they're plugging in when someone clicks on a button that's part of your conversions? It could be, but it's not the conversion. Clicking on a button does not add more money in your pocket and help you in your business. Are you using up-to-date tactics or relying on old tricks? I mean, if you hear them say, give you like a wink, wink, this is how we do things, and people, Google doesn't know this, or we have our thing that we do that's super magical when it comes to marketing. Those days are gone. It's kind of like in the car industry, where you used to be able to play all these games, but now where you can get your evaluation and your appraisals and all that. Now the price is the price. Now it's just hard work and playing by the rules. So if you hear anybody talk about them knowing some little marketing trick or something like that, it's basically best practices. The best trick really is to understand what the best practices are and follow best practices. So be careful if you hear that, because that's going to make you think that maybe they got this secret sauce and no one else knows. No. If they tell you you're going to be number one on Google in 30 days, I can't believe someone's even saying those things anymore. Those days are definitely gone. So any kind of like weird sensationalistic promise, run from those things. What good ones look like? Let's flip the script here a little bit. Disciplined strategy, definitions of goals, working to goals. Those are the big ones. Modern SEO and marketing tactics, focusing on user experience, quality content, proper backlinks. Remember the good votes. Tracking meaningful events, optimizing for conversion rather than just rankings. I mean, when someone says they do SEO and all they're trying to do is drive traffic to a website, well, what if your website stinks and no one does anything with it? I mean, how does that work, right? It doesn't. It's got to be adjusted. Transparent reporting is a good one. Continuous improvement. This is probably the biggest. You're not going to start with anybody who's serious and automatically have results. What you're going to have is someone trying to game the system to get your confidence, and then it may or may not work. And so continuous improvement and hard work is the goal to go by. Will these people actually do the job in a meaningful way and protect my business like it's their own? And how will you do that? Education. We're huge in education here. This is what we're doing right now. This is free to you. And what we do with any prospect that comes and sits down at our office or sits in a Zoom with us, we go through and we talk about everything that we see and we give full transparency to it. I don't hyper focus on one little thing that may be wrong, because if the overall package is good, we need to say that overall package is good. Here's the thing. You want to be aware of this. The old school methods are still being held on to because people believe that they work, because it's like holding on to the yellow pages in the phone book. SEO is not a tactic. It's just a word. And so someone just selling you SEO in quotes, you need to be very careful about that. And matter of fact, I think that's the word of the day. If I were to say that anything frustrated me more meeting this client than anything, it was that someone sold them this term called SEO. What is SEO to them? What does it mean? What can we expect? And why should we do that versus other things? And what's maybe the second or third best thing if you're recommending SEO? Is there something else we should be doing? How long will it take? These kind of questions. Because you start talking about how long it takes, then what you're going to get is you might go back to the 30-day thing, something like that. Well, we've seen things happen in 30 days. Okay, well, it happened in 30 days with me. You'll start to see the wheels come off the bus when you start to dig just a little bit. And you don't need to know everything from the perspective of the owner of a business in order to ask those questions. And if the language starts to get lofty, say, slow down. Remember, I'm a roofer. I'm not a web guy. I just need to understand this in my words. And I need to get this down in ways I can understand it. Slow people down. We have it done to us all the time. Matter of fact, that's something that we love, is say, hey, if we start getting weird with our language, just ask us to stop. Ask us to explain things to you. Fraud in digital marketing is on the rise. Oh, man. Fraudulent AI phone calls. Oh, you talk about people who are talking about the pros of artificial intelligence. I know you're getting calls, and they're those AI clicks and all that junk and all this other stuff. Remember, fraud's on the rise, and freelancers, good old boys, design agencies, big media companies, it may not be fraud in the classical legal sense, but it is fraudulent through omission. In my opinion, it's fraudulent through omission. And you need to really guard yourself, because I know you work hard for the money that you make and invest. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. So this is kind of where I want to leave it today. What I want to say is, if you're in this boat and you're waking up, congratulations. This is incredible. It's nothing to be ashamed of or upset about or anything like that. It means you're waking up to a song that the Pied Piper has been playing for years and years and years. This has been going on forever, but because of the way the internet was, it was easy to kind of escape that for the agency, to where they could still sell these things, which would make you jump from person to person to person to person. Now it's getting separated out. So until next time, thank you so much. This is Ken with Over the Bull.
Thanks for tuning in to Over the Bull, brought to you by Integris Design, a full-service design and marketing agency out of Asheville, North Carolina. Until next time.